All right, let's talk about Microsoft Azure. We're going to cut through all the complexity and focus on the stuff you really need to know when you're just starting out. How much does it actually cost? Who do you call for help? And what kind of promises does Microsoft really make? Let's pull back the curtain and give you a clear map to get going.
So, here's the big question that stops a lot of people in their tracks, right? The cloud. Is it just this incredibly confusing, super expensive thing that's going to run away with your money? It's a common fear for sure. But does it really have to be that way?
That's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to tackle that perception head-on. We'll walk through all the essentials, step by step, from picking your very first account all the way to understanding your monthly bill. And I think you'll see it's way more approachable than you might think.
Okay, so where do you even start? Well, the very first step on your Azure journey is picking your plan. In Azure speak, they call this a subscription.
Honestly, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of it like signing up for electricity or water at a new apartment. Your subscription is just your account. It's what gives you access to everything, and, it's how they track what you're using. For almost everyone just starting out, the absolute best place to begin is the Azure free account.
And this free account is pretty sweet. Right off the bat, you get a full 12 months of access to some of their most popular services. We're talking virtual machines, storage, databases, the core stuff. That gives you an entire year to just play around, build things, and experiment without having to worry about the cost.
But that's not all. On top of the free services, they literally hand you a $200 credit to use on any service you want during your first month. Want to try out some of their crazy advanced AI tools? Go for it. That credit is basically your playground to explore the entire platform.
But here's the real kicker, the long-term value. Even after that first year is up and your credit is gone, there are more than 25 services that are always free, forever, as long as you stay under certain limits. This makes it a fantastic, genuinely no-risk platform for small projects. And of course, when you're ready to grow, you just flip a switch to a pay-as-you-go plan where you only pay for what you actually use, no minimums. If you're part of a big company, you can get discounts with an enterprise agreement. And hey, if you're a student, there's a special plan just for you with its own freebies and credits.
Okay, so you've picked your plan. Now for the million-dollar question, or hopefully the not-so-many-dollar question, cost. So if your subscription is your account with the power company, how do you read the meter? What actually goes into that monthly bill?
It really just boils down to three main things. First, the type of resource. It makes sense, right? A big, powerful virtual computer is going to cost more per hour than just storing a file. Second, some specific services have their own unique pricing. And third, location. Where in the world your service is running matters. Firing up a server in the eastern US might cost something different than the exact same server in Japan or Germany.
Now, a key part of that cost that sometimes trips people up is bandwidth. That's the data moving in and out of Azure. But here's a really simple rule to remember. Data coming into Azure is almost always free. It's the data going out that you pay for, and the price just depends on how far it has to go. It's a little detail, but for some apps, it can make a big difference.
And the best part is that Azure isn't trying to hit you with a surprise bill. They actually give you a whole bunch of tools to help you predict what you're going to spend and keep it under control. You are never in the dark.
First up is the pricing calculator. Think of this thing as your best friend before you build anything. You can go in, spec out exactly what you think you'll need, and it'll spit out a detailed cost estimate. No more guesswork. It's awesome. Then there's something called the TCO calculator. TCO stands for Total Cost of Ownership. Now this one's a bit more strategic. This is the tool you use to make a business case. If you're trying to convince your boss to finally get rid of that ancient server humming away in the closet, this tool helps you compare all the real costs, the hardware, the electricity, your time, against what it would cost in Azure.
And on top of planning, Azure gives you a ton of ways to actively save money day to day. You've got the Azure Advisor, which gives you personalized tips. You can set hard spending limits so you never go over budget. You can choose to run your stuff in cheaper regions. And if you know you're going to be using something for a while, you can reserve it for 1 or 3 years and get a massive discount. The point is, you are in control.
Okay, so you've got your costs under control. But what happens when something goes wrong? Or you just get totally stuck? Well, let's talk about the 24/7 helpline for your new cloud utility.
So here's the baseline. Right out of the box, every single Azure account, and yes, I mean the free one too, comes with some support. You get help with any billing or subscription questions, you get access to a mountain of documentation, and you can ask questions in the community forums to get help from other users
and experts.
Now, what if you need, an actual Microsoft engineer to help you fix a technical problem? That's where the paid support plans come in. If you're just experimenting, the developer plan gets you email support during business hours. Once you have real stuff running that people depend on, the standard plan gives you 24/7 access. And for your absolute most important business-critical apps, Professional Direct gets you the fastest response times.
All right, last big piece of the puzzle. Let's talk about guarantees. Sticking with our analogy, this is the service guarantee from the power company. What does Azure actually promise about keeping the lights on?
This all comes down to a document called a Service Level Agreement, or SLA. You should think of this as Microsoft's formal written promise to you. It sets performance targets, usually uptime, and if they fail to meet that promise, you get money back on your bill. It's their guarantee, plain and simple.
But let's be real, seeing 99.99% doesn't really mean much to most of us, does it? So let's translate that. An SLA of 3 nines, or 99.9%, means a service could be down for almost 45 minutes in a month. But push that to 4 nines, 99.99%, and that potential downtime drops to just over 4 minutes a month. See? Suddenly that promise feels a lot more real.
One last thing you'll see as you poke around Azure are these little labels on services: Public Preview and General Availability, or GA. It's simple. If something is in public preview, think of it like a beta test. It's cool to try, but it might not be perfect and probably doesn't have an SLA. But once a service is GA, that means it's fully tested, fully supported, and ready for you to bet your business on it.
So there you have it. We've walked through the whole thing. Your service plan, how to read the meter, the tools to control your bill, and the guarantees you can count on. You now have a clear map, the rules of the road for navigating the practical side of Microsoft Azure. The only real question left is, now that you've got the keys, what are you going to build?